All right, good morning, everybody.
Hello.
We'll head right into questions with Coach Taylor. So please use the raise hand function on Zoom and we will take them as they come in.
You doing, guys? We can't hear him. Is it volume?
No one said anything yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Troy, you're up first.
Hey, Coach. Good seeing you as always. Penalties, one of the big stories from last week. 10 of them for Stanford, 5 on offense, 5 on defense, and the majority of them seem to be absolute killers. How is penalty avoidance taught during the week when you're getting ready for an opponent? How is that approached?
Yeah, I mean the post whistle penalties. We talk about those a lot. I addressed them on our team meeting. You just can't have them. You got to play the whistle, and those are things that are totally within our control. And so we had 3 of those, which we shouldn't. The goal is to not have any of those. Let's just play let's not smart football. And then holding penalties. There's great disparity in the holding penalties. It's fundamentals. It's keeping your hands inside and letting go at the appropriate time. So, not very smart. Our goal is to be the smartest team, and obviously, with the amount of penalties, we did not achieve that.
Thank you, John.
Coach, besides penalties, what were your other takeaways from the UCLA game, maybe as teaching points for the team?
Yeah, I mean, starting faster. We've had 2 of those late starts, and we haven't played very fast. Colorado and then SC, and then this past week, I guess 3. So, we'll mix things up on practice and try to get our guys a little bit more fresh, and you just can't put yourself in a hole and expect to be able to come back and win. So got to play faster. And then, some of the things is third down on offense. We, been pretty good third down team this year. We were not on last game. So that was killer. Some of them just completely self-inflicted, but others just not executing, or just not a good plan by me. So we've got to improve in those areas. And in general, we just got to play better. Really good team, but we're playing another, each week we play another great team, and these guys are maybe the best team we played so far.
Harold?
You've played against a lot of top quarterbacks this season, Bo Nix, Sanders, Caleb Williams. How does Michael Penix compare to those guys? Any similarities or anything you can take from the games that you've played already to, take into Saturday?
He's really good. I mean, I first saw him watching him play at Indiana a while ago, and I remember being really impressed with him, and had never heard of him, and started watching an Indiana game, and I was really blown away with his composure, his ability to keep his eyes downfield and make throws under pressure and make good decisions under pressure. And so he's as good as there is. Incredibly accurate, great toughness, really looks to throw before he runs, but he can run. And he's got really good wide receivers. This is probably one of the most experienced teams in the country as far as returners. You got a lot of guys they're on their 5th and 6th year, that are really good players, and obviously their coaching staff does a great job. So really experienced team, really talented team, really well coached team, and the quarterback is special.
And is there anything you can take away from playing those other quarterbacks that you could bring into Saturday, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all a little bit different, but I just think when you're playing a talented quarterback, that's obviously a challenge. And then when you're playing an experienced quarterback, they've seen a lot of things. They've been through kind of the ups and downs. But I think just another great challenge, one of many in this conference that are pretty special players.
Steve?
Yeah, Troy, you know me for a long time, so I'm not a very smart guy. So I'll ask an obvious dumb question. Washington, for every game this season up until Saturday night, seemed like an offensive juggernaut that almost nobody could stop Washington. Arizona State did a very good job of stopping Washington. Washington didn't score an offensive touchdown. When you've seen what did Arizona State do to slow down Washington?
Well, I think they were able to get some turnovers, which were huge. A couple of really timely ones early on, and they were able to get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback and make him get rid of the ball. So I think those were kind of the key elements. But and I think they might, maybe a couple of receivers were a little nicked up, maybe. I think those all played a factor. And then Arizona State had a great plan and played really well. But Washington's defense was outstanding in that game as well. So they found, really good teams find a way to win. Credit to Arizona State for playing them so tough. But you're right. That was kind of the one time that, they were really slowed down. So we obviously are looking at that tape on that side of the ball and trying to, glean anything we can that will help us, prepare and have a good plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, Coach, if the score last week had been a little bit closer throughout the course of that game, how would the quarterback snaps and the distribution of snaps had gone? Would it have been a bit more balanced in that respect?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Ash, we plan on playing, the majority of the snaps, but obviously, Troy, that can change depending on how the game goes. I guess what I'll say is it got a lot of confidence in both of them. And both are ready to go. Both get a lot of, pretty close to even reps during the week. We take the practice reps into consideration, and then obviously it weighs heavily on, how they performed in the game.
Thank you, John.
Coach, I couldn't help when you mentioned Michael Penix Jr., and I think visually of the pockets that he has benefit of. And your quarterback, Ashton, there's a lot of commotion in the pockets. But my question for you is, he seems to be progressing pretty well when there is commotion in there. Hangs in there, the feet seem relatively calm, and stays in there as long and gets rid of it. I mean, kind of talk about his development in the pocket, given the challenges that he's faced.
Appreciate that recognition. Yeah, he's I've said often that quarterback is the toughest position in sports, and then when you're not being always protected, there's been times we've protected them well, but when it's inconsistent, it becomes very difficult. It really tests your resolve and your confidence in yourself and the system and the guys around you. And I think he's done a really good job in that respect. The one interception that he did throw, he did exactly what I told him to do. I said, if the number one's not open, give number two a chance. I sound like Austin Powers, number one, number two, but give Tiger Bachmeier an opportunity on the rail route up the sidelines, give him a chance. Don't throw it out of bounds. I mean, he did exactly what I told him to do. So he's done a really good job. It can get kind of messy if you're getting hit, and we've tried to do a good job of mixing up the protections and helping him out a little bit. But as a quarterback, I certainly succumbed many times to the pressure of getting rid of the ball and throwing it up for grabs sometimes and turning it over. And he really hasn't done that. So a credit to him and his toughness, and I'm really proud of him in that respect.
Ben?
I was going to ask, Washington had a tough fight against Arizona State at home. Two kind of parts to that question. Number one is, anything you kind of saw that Arizona State did particularly well that you guys could try to replicate? And then B, does seeing a team like Arizona State on the road press them out, they did give you guys any extra kind of hope that you guys could do the same to them and actually win?
The second part, what was the second part of ASU on the road? You kind of cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. The second part of the question just is, does it give it any extra hope seeing them be vulnerable to a team like ASU who would come in with, I think, no wins, whatever? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've always kind of felt like anybody could beat anybody. I really feel that way. Even when my teams are undefeated, I kind of always have that. I believe that the opponent can beat you, that they have good players, they have good coaches. it's not a mindset. It's really a fact, because like you guys, if you see enough games, things can happen. So now, that being said, the margin when you're playing a really good team is very thin. So you can't have dumb penalties. You can't turn the ball over. You got to play your best football. And I think ASU did a lot of those things. They have really good coaches and they have some good players. Washington is an experienced team that is not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're very talented in a lot of areas. So you're gonna have to get some breaks. You're gonna have to get some turnovers, and you're gonna have to have a really sound plan and execute it for 4 quarters, and that puts you in the game. Now, that doesn't, obviously it doesn't mean you're going to win the game. ASU was really close. They had an opportunity there at the end, and it didn't work out. So yeah, I mean, I think obviously you look at the score and you're like, okay, it reminds you, not that you don't believe it, reminds you that even the great teams are capable of being upset. Now, coming close and doing it are 2 completely different things. But we expect to get Washington's best. We know they'll be prepared. They're playing for a lot, and they'll be ready to roll.
John?
Coach, this is not meant to be a Stanford specific question, more of a broader question, although you can go back to Stanford and sort of levering off the modest Stanford run game stats. I look at the national stats and there aren't real big running back totals this year. And I know the NFL sort of the run game is I don't know if seeding is too strong a word, but with the offenses we see in your offense, kind of where are the run game options? Is it outside the edge? I know you had runners at Sac State. Sort of what's your philosophy of the run game with what you run and kind of where Division I college football is?
Yeah, great question. I think specific to UCLA, they were one of the best run defenses that we've seen, and we knew going in it was going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. I mean, the Oregon State, who runs the ball is as good as anyone, didn't have a lot of success, more obviously more than we did. But I think you gotta find a way to run the football, and the teams that I've been a part of that have been pretty good. I mean, we obviously have thrown the ball everywhere I've been, but at Utah, my last year there, we were either 1 or 2 in rushing, which helped us out a lot. At Sac State, I think we were behind Montana State and running the ball. So it's really important. As you play really good teams, it becomes difficult, but vital that you have some sort of run game. So we were at a major disadvantage when the run game was not much of a factor in that game. And then you got to pass protect some really talented players. So I think I'm not saying it's impossible to win a championship without a run game. I think it's really difficult though. So I think you can win a lot of games when you throw it a lot. But if you're going to win championships, I think you got to have a run game. And so we will always push towards moving and improving our run game. Hopefully this week we can get it going. Casey, not being able to really play, factoring in a little bit to that. And then Justin's Lambo is a really good runner. So we got to utilize him as well.
Troy?
And maybe a little bit along those lines, when you look at the Washington defense, how do you size up that side of the ball for the Huskies? What stands out to you?
Their defensive ends are really good. They're probably as good as the UCLA guys. They've been around for a while, talented. The tackles are really stout, and then they're fast in the secondary, and their linebackers are active. So, when you face an undefeated team, you're not going to see really any weaknesses. But I would say their ends are very talented.
John?
Coach, in scouting an opponent, how relevant is the year prior's tape? Is it a small piece of the scouting? Last year, Stanford had 3 passing touchdowns up in Seattle against the Huskies. Michael Wilson, of course, is in the NFL, was part of that, and Tanner McKee as well. But kind of just last year's tape, relevant, not relevant?
Yeah, not super relevant. I mean, if you look at last year's team, we've 5 of the players that were there in the NFL, and then we had 17 transfer portal guys, 12 of them starters that aren't with our team anymore. We're a completely different team. Washington, I guess is what you're alluding to, is very similar to the same team. So I think you can get something out of it for sure. I think generally speaking, the most recent history is the most pertinent, but yeah, you go back and look at it and you take a look at anybody that's had any kind of success, you take a look at that tape and see if you can benefit from it. Sometimes, you haven't seen certain things that an opponent has faced. And so you might have to go back a year and see how they played certain systems and certain, offenses that can be pertinent, especially when you have the same coaching staff.
Troy?
You mentioned Casey. Is he expected back this week?
Yeah.
And is anybody else who hasn't seen any action over the past few weeks potentially expected back for this one?
So, Casey, we do expect to play. And then, Ben is a question mark.
Ben?
Just want to get your thoughts on the special teams you guys have over the week against UCLA, blocked a kick, field goal, and then also obviously the goal of a drive isn't to punt, but the ones that you guys have some nice punts. So just kind of talk about what you guys got from special teams and how pleased you were with those particular elements.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is an incredible player. Obviously, we didn't get to utilize him as much as we'd like to, and he does a great job of. I think he kicked them all out of the end zone. Maybe one was returned, and we had a punt blocked, which was an execution mistake that we didn't execute very well on that. They've done a good job in protection the entire year. So I think our guys have done a good job in special teams. I think we work it a lot. We're looking to improve it. I mean, obviously, you got to try to win the field position battle and have some returns and bigger returns and all those things. And we're certainly attempting to get those, but we can improve for sure.
Back to Troy?
Yeah, how would you sum up the season so far individually for Medea Rubin and for Tiger Bachmeier to this point?
Yeah, Moody is a guy that's he's a young player, and he played mostly soccer his whole life, and you see those flashes of him do incredibly athletic things, and then you see sometimes where he's just looks like a guy that's inexperienced. So most important thing is that we have patience with him, and we continue to get him work and reps, because I do think he has a lot of potential. He has a lot of just raw skill, and he's a smart kid, and it's really important to him. That being said, he's going to continue to grow and get better, and we need him to. Tiger Bachmeier is, just got here in the spring and has made some great plays, and then he's done some things that you expect from a young player. But on the, I'd say on kind of looking at it in its totality, he's done a good job. He's given us a lot of depth, and he's made some plays, and he's really competitive. So like both of those guys.
John?
Coach, an educational question. An aside, part of what makes broadcasting games for you fun is there's a lot of creativity, and I find myself counting to 4 with the guys off the line. Can you walk us through the illegal touch penalty with Sam? Was he not the last guy on the line? What was the situation with that Samurai?
Right.
He had a nice reception, and I know it was disappointing for him and you for it not to go forward.
It was an alignment error at wide receiver. So our wide receiver was supposed to be off the ball. He's aligned correctly since we've been here, and he just aligned on the ball. And so if you cover up the tight end, he becomes an interior lineman, so that when he's okay to go downfield, but when he touches the ball, that becomes illegal touching or illegal man downfield. So that's what happened.
Any other questions for Coach Taylor? All right, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, we'll start with defense first. We have Anthony Franklin here. We'll take questions. Ben?
Got the easy question. You blocked a field goal on against UCLA. Just talk about what you saw in that play and what's the key to blocking a field goal.
Yeah, so that kind of really started with the second PAT that UCLA had. Me and Tobin kind of felt the guard was giving up ground and we can get some penetration right there. So me and Tobin pushed him back, and we've been working on it all year, just getting extension and elevating, and it was awesome to get the opportunity.
Thank you, Ben. John?
A two-parter here. The quick first one is, did you see the field goal blocked by Myles Garrett where he jumped over the lineman and blocked the kick? Did you happen to see that?
Yeah, I did see that, kind of with his highlights of his game with the 2 sacks as well. That was awesome.
Yeah. So my real question is, all these quarterbacks, I mean, you've been around a while, and just week after week, you're facing elite quarterbacks. What's that been like as far as scouting? And then when you come to encounter them in the game, sort of dealing with their talent?
Yeah, it's an awesome opportunity to play against these amazing quarterbacks we do every week with, Caleb Williams winning the Heisman, and, this upcoming week with Michael Penix being up for the Heisman as well. We just know we got to focus and be studious in our film. There's always going to be opportunities, and we just got to make the most of them.
Troy?
Yeah, for the guys up front, how would you sum up how the season's gone to this point? What's gone right? What could be going better from the defensive line at this point?
Let's start with what's gone right. I think we've played pretty physical up front, stopping the run. I know this past week wasn't our best showing, and we're gonna be better this week. And I'm very proud of the young guys that have been stepping up throughout the whole year, and I think we're gonna have a good group going forward.
John?
Anthony, what have you learned this year under the new regime about playing your position? About, but maybe it's the way you've been coached, maybe it's a technique you've learned. What have you added to your skill set, would you say, this year?
I think what I've added to help me out the most was just focus. Coach Kalodji's been huge on just being focused in every play, being in the moment, and just focusing on your key and your position and your gap.
Troy?
Yeah, Anthony, obviously the quarterback gets top billing when you talk about the Huskies offense, but they also have a few other folks who can help make that thing go. How do you size up the Husky offense as a whole and things that the defense needs to key in on to get it done this week?
Yeah, so obviously the quarterback, great player. I know they got some great skill position on the outside and great running back as well, and some really good offensive line. But just from a defensive line perspective, we're focusing on the offensive line, and I know we have opportunities to go make plays. ASU showed it last week that they are beatable. We have opportunities. We just got to take advantage of them.
Ben?
Yeah, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on defense coordinator Bobby April, what you've learned from him so far, and what it's been like playing under him.
I love playing under Coach April. He brings a tremendous amount of energy to practice and the games, and it's a very exciting defense. He's putting us in the right spots, and we just got to be able to make the plays now and play for him.
John?
Educational question for us, Anthony. When a quarterback's left-handed, is that something that's in your mind as you're on the field against him, or does it make no difference whether the guy's throwing left-handed or right-handed? Or maybe part of his tendency is to flush out to his left because he is left-handed. Tell us about kind of a different-handed quarterback and how that affects you, if at all.
It definitely will. Just right-handed quarterbacks tend to roll out more to their right, and left-handed is more to their left, so they can throw on their dominant side. So we'll have to keep that in mind when rushing him, that he'll tend to probably roll out more towards the left. But other than that, it makes no difference. We're still get after him.
Any other questions for Anthony? All right, thank you so much, Anthony. Oh, just kidding, Ben.
Yeah, just kind of in general, after, what are kind of some lessons you guys can learn from the season as a whole as you look ahead to Washington, just in terms of bouncing back from frustrating losses? You guys, came back against Colorado, won that game. Now you guys got, dominated by UCLA. Just what are some lessons you guys can take from the season as a whole to perhaps have another kind of surprising outing against Washington?
I think the team, we just got to stay in the moment. We got to start fast. I know these past couple of weeks we haven't started fast. We were able to get it done against Colorado, but starting off slow against UCLA put us down a deep hole and we weren't able to fight back. But we got to start fast this week and just continue to put pressure on the quarterback and this offense.
And if I could just sneak one more in here real quickly, just kind of talk about the camaraderie that you guys have as a defensive line group and just kind of how you guys feel you guys are kind of clicking and bonding so far this year.
With all the guys coming back from last year, I feel like this D-line room is really tight. We brought in 2 freshmen this year, so we're bringing them along as well. And I just feel like we have a great group and we're pretty close.
All right. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you. So mute.
All right. Okay. We've got some raw share. We will take questions in the same way we took them for Anthony and Coach Taylor. Troy?
Yeah, Sam, just take us through the mood of the guys right now after that result against UCLA and what's ahead for this week. What are the guys thinking right now heading into this week?
Yeah, well, it's a 1-0 season every week. So obviously we're disappointed with what happened last week, but we're not going to get down on that. That's pretty counterproductive to get stuck on that. So we're all just kind of looking ahead to this next week. It's a great opportunity. You've got one of the better teams in the country that we get to play them at home. So you don't get to do that too often. Just looking to put our best foot forward this week.
Thank you. John?
Sam, how's it been? I mean, obviously, you and Sam or you and Ben have been on field a lot together. He's not available now, so you kind of been thrust into the sort of both blocking and primary tight end receiver role. What's that been like? Has that sort of changed your awareness play to play, knowing that you might be the guy called upon to get the first down catch?
Yeah, well, I'm always, regardless of what I'm doing, blocking or catching balls, I'm always just looking to, contribute in the best way I can to my team. So, I'm just trying to help the team out. So whatever they call my number for, I'm just ready to do that. So it's not really too important whether it's blocking or receiving. It's all the same to me.
Troy?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that a little bit. There's so many things that are on a tight end's plate between just catching the ball, but there's also blocking, and there are also other considerations and things that are on your plate as well on a game-to-game basis. How do you kind of approach that? When you have so many different skills that you have to master to be a terrific tight end. What are some things that you take in with you every single week?
Yeah, we've got great coaches. They prepare us. We know what we've got to look for each week, whether that's, these edges, they're real big pass rushers, or whether that's, they're going to be more big and physical. We know what to kind of be looking for. We've got a great scouting report going to the game. Coach puts together some good indie drills to kind of get us prepared for that. But really you just, you focus on your weaknesses and you don't let your strengths slip up. So just kind of making sure that you're well-rounded each and every week.
Ben?
Yeah, just kind of talk about with Jurasik, when Jurasik is out, just kind of how does that change things for you at all, in terms of assignment or shifting over to take, obviously, depth chart wise, we just talk about for you, how does that change if he's out and versus when he's in there?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get more opportunities in the pass game when Ben's out, because he's the receiver, and he's kind of been the receiver. But yeah, I'd say I'd probably get more opportunities in the pass game when he's out, because we got to get somebody to fill that role. He's a big player on our team, so somebody's got to fill that void.
John?
Sam, walk us through that play. You had a nice catch late in the first half against UCLA, and they wiped it away because of the cover-up penalty. I asked Coach about it, but maybe you can. Maybe I'm a slow learner. You can maybe walk us through kind of what was illegal about it. What covered up tight end, what you being covered up means, and so we look for it next time, and we'll be quicker on the radio with the description. Tell us what happened there.
Just basically, if you have like two people on the ball, then the inside most is an ineligible receiver. So what we try to do is we'll have the inside guy off the ball, or we'll have the outside guy off the ball, just so that nobody's getting covered up. But we just, I mean, it was just a little mental bust where we should have somebody off the ball.
Any other questions for Sam? Ben?
Yeah, just kind of thoughts on Washington's D, challenges that they pose, and what you guys are going to do to be successful against the Huskies.
Yep, we've started watching their film. They're a really old and experienced, not old, but experienced team. A lot of 4th, 5th, 6 years. They're kind of where they need to be when they need to be. Very technical. They've got some good edges. Looking forward to that challenge. Big, physical. They're good pass rushers as well. Big defensive line. The linebackers are just kind of good, solid tacklers where they need to be when they need to be. But we're definitely going to try to find ways to exploit that.
John?
Sam, as we watch football at both the major college and pro levels, it strikes me that the tight end is becoming ever more and more important. Not that it hasn't been, but just for young men that are playing that position, and there are opportunities for you going forward. Obviously, I know just in your college career, you want to seize those. What are you working on? Well, how do you get to this step where some of the prior Stanford tight ends have been? Ben Jurasik obviously be one, but you followed the Stanford program, I know, for the prior few years. What do you need to do to take that step?
I need to get more consistent with my blocking. I believe that I have the ability to, be the guy that we can depend on every play to consistently get my job done. But I don't think that I've been doing that this season. So just making sure that I'm not making a good play, every other play, but being consistent with that and doing that consistently, so I can be a guy we can count on.
Ben?
I asked Coach this question. Curious if you have a different response to this at all. Do you guys take any extra obviously you guys can take enough confidence in just coming back from 29 down against Colorado, but knowing that, Washington struggled against Arizona, it was a real game against those guys. Does seeing that give you guys any extra kind of hope for beating them, or at least any things you guys maybe could exploit, having seen tape of that game?
Yeah, well, I mean, me personally, and I think I can speak for all of us, we believe every game we go into, we believe we're going to win. And college football is a crazy place, and anybody can beat anybody. So, that's valid that we have that belief. I think that it's cool that like ASU got close, but we're looking to get it done all the way. So, yeah, I mean, we all believe we can do it, and they're definitely, everybody's beatable.
Troy?
Yeah, 2 things here. One, we had National Tight Ends Day recently. Did you and the rest of the tight end group do anything to celebrate or anything like that?
We got some cool shirts. We wore the shirts, gave each other high fives, but nothing too crazy.
And 2, obviously, with National Tight Ends Day, and there's the big discussion about, who is tight end you, and other schools can claim it, but I think Stanford certainly is right there at the very top, if not at the very top. What does it mean to you to be a part of the tradition that has been developed certainly over the last 15 years at the tight end position?
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, it was definitely a pretty cool legacy here. I think it's 18 guys who played in the NFL. We did a little trivia video. I think I got it wrong on the trivia. 19. I'm hearing 19. So there's 19 guys who played in the NFL, but that's a pretty cool legacy. And I think 10 or 11 in the last 10 or 12 years. So there's a lot of big footsteps to follow. It means a lot. We see these guys, they come back in the offseason, Zach Ertz, Austin Hooper, Colby Parkinson, like they all come back and they say what's up to us. That's pretty cool.
John.
I'll keep it light, Sam, on this one. The glasses in the sort of the beginning of your photos. I mean, the tight end's a fun group. Like who was the instigator of that, or who had the idea, and tell us how that came about.
I kind of drove that. I'm gonna take credit for it. I drove that a little bit. I just thought it'd be funny if we all wore the nerd glasses, but I don't know. And then we got Chico. Chico was a late addition, so we didn't get him in the deal, unfortunately. But that would have been cool if we could have all done it.
Creative and fun.
Ben.
First of all, there's this thing called Photoshop. I think you guys can maybe Photoshop the glasses onto his photo I think you guys can do that. Secondly, I did want to kind of just in general, I mean, Washington's coming in as a top 5 team, just talk about the excitement of a major team coming through that's that highly ranked, undefeated. Just kind of talk about the excitement around a matchup like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of buzz. I'm definitely, I just came from Spanish class, so like everybody in Spanish class is like, hey, like I'm gonna be at the game this weekend. Like everybody's excited. I think we're gonna have a lot of people there. But as a player, I just need to make sure that I'm staying focused on the game, watching my film, doing all that, not worrying about all that external stuff that ultimately isn't gonna matter for me.
Ben.
Yeah, just what's with the shirt? Is that a Canton? What's with the shirt? Just Canton. What is that shirt exactly? Talk about that shirt here.
Canton Bulldogs. It's one of the original NFL teams. My grandpa gave it to me because he went to the Hall of Fame last year. Like he visited it. So he bought the shirt and gave it to me.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I learned some NFL history there. So I was kind of wondering I wasn't sure if it was Canton, Ohio related to that, or if it was related to Hong Kong, learning Chinese. So I was like, which one is this? I gotta get to the bottom of this mystery. Very cool, very cool.
All right, that'll be the end of today's press conference.